Carlos Sainz is now a 3-time F1 race winner. Come chill with me as I design this poster for him. So this is kind of a new video style for me. I'm trying something out, kind of a new series, I guess, a more lo-fi type of video. So I'm going over my design process, everything like that. I'm trying to get better at graphic design. I'm by no means a professional, and I'm just trying to get better. So this is all I'm doing right now. So I had the pictures pulled up for my composition, and the first thing that I did was cut out the Big Ben Tower in London. So I have kind of 3 cities, the skyline. I have London for Carlos Sainz's win at the Silverstone Grand Prix. I have Melbourne for his Australia win, and I have Singapore for his, obviously, Singapore win last year. And I thought it'd be pretty cool to cut out Big Ben in London. I know the race obviously wasn't in London, but this is the most recognizable skyline from that country, so that's why I chose it. I'm using Photoshop like 100% for this design, and to be honest, it was pretty uncomfortable for me because I'm more of an Illustrator guy. I'm trying to migrate over to Photoshop though. I'm trying to try more like sports design, stuff like that, and Photoshop seems to be the ideal program for that. So I've been learning a lot of Photoshop lately, watching a lot of tutorials and all that. I don't know if I'll end up making any tutorials, we'll see. So I just went into filter and then camera raw filter. I'm adjusting the curves right now. I'm trying to make all the colors pop more because I'm gonna add kind of a monochrome effect to everything, and I want everything to be recognizable, so nothing can be like flat, if that makes sense. Here's the inspiration I'm using for this design. They use this like gradient map effect for these background images, so I kind of want to do that kind of along the same lines, except with the Ferrari red, you know, because it is Carlos Sainz, he is a Ferrari driver. This is probably the hardest part of this design, and it really is a simple design. It didn't take me that long, about 45 minutes I would say. It probably could have taken me about a half hour if I had really, tried to speed it up, but about 45 minutes, and I was pretty happy with the end result after that. So all the way on the left here, I'm putting that Ferrari red. All the way on the right, I'm putting white. And then kind of in the middle, but more towards the left, I'm putting another shade of that same red, just so I can get more of the details, and that, it helps me to make sure the exposure and everything is correct. This is sped up about 500%. I wanted to make sure each gradient map was individually good, because if you do one gradient map over the entire image, some of the images, because they're different exposures, different contrasts and everything, it suffers. So as we finish this up, I was kind of focused on the composition, specifically with that car in the right corner. I wasn't really that happy with it. It takes me a while to kind of get the composition right. I know some people get the composition done first thing in their design process. Composition for me is kind of something that takes a while for me to do throughout the whole design. So at first I was thinking that the car would be a good addition to everything, and then as I was thinking more and more, it just didn't look right to me. I decided to just delete the car from the design entirely. I also made the cities bigger to give kind of more emphasis on them. In the beginning, I kind of wanted to put text in between the cities. Now I'm kind of thinking, because the cities, the skylines are pretty recognizable, odds are if you're viewing this graphic, you already know that Carlos Sainz has won these 3 races. My target market for this is kind of like a social media post with, let's say, an F1 social media or Ferrari social media, something like that. So I don't really think we need to label all 3 of these cities. So again, I'm just changing composition as I go. I think it's honestly a pretty fun part of the design process to just change things along as you go. So yeah, deleting that picture of the car actually made a lot more room for text on the top Originally I was going to put text in between. I decided to put it on the top, and the font of choice for the heading was the BD Napori. I think one of the things I'm most proud of with this design is thinking of putting Big Ben over the X in the design. I know that's like a pretty basic thing to do. I was pretty proud of it though. I think that makes it look a lot better. Also, the color of the 3X and the winner isn't exactly right now. I'll fix it in a few seconds though. We went with Georgia for the Carlos Sainz font. Again, I normally do this in Illustrator, so it was kind of a shock to me just to do this whole poster in Photoshop. It ended up working out. I really like learning Photoshop. I didn't like it for a long time, but I really like it now. Mainly because you can add texture. So we kind of got our composition laid out. We got the text, we got everything. Now we just need to give it some more life. So the first thing I did was, of course, add a shadow. I did this in a very basic way. I just put an ellipse and then put some Gaussian blur on it. You gotta convert it to a smart object. Put some Gaussian blur on it. This is really the most basic shadow, I think, ever, but it works. Now I put, for the texture, I searched on Pexels and I got kind of just a picture of a road. I thought that was appropriate because obviously he's a racing driver. So I put that texture on it, and I think it really went well. I experimented with some other textures, as you can see. It just didn't end up looking like I wanted it to. And yeah, after a little bit of experimenting with the blending modes and different textures, I finally came out with my final design. I hope you like it. I mean, it's obviously not perfect. It's not great. It's my first episode of this series, and also I'm just trying to get better at graphic design and sports design in general. So if you have any tips for me, please leave them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this is the first of many. Goodbye.